Everybody, how you doing?
Good morning.
How's everything going, Sam?
Pretty good.
Staying busy?
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Julie. So I'm not gonna, wait forever, obviously.
Yeah,
Sam, have you ever filled out a business plan before?
I have. And then you don't look at it again,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm actually gonna see if you want me to implement is a quarterly follow-up where, in 4 months after, January, February, March, April 1st, April Fool's Day, I give you a call or we meet at the office and kind of go over, see where you're at.
Yeah.
I know you don't need a lot of motivation from outside sources. So it's really just accountability for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that's the hardest part about it,
Yeah. And it's the time blocking. I
Mhm.
know I've said that before. It's setting that time and then not deterring from it.
Yep.
And obviously that's not in the business plan, but it is part of the business plan. There was a broker told me a good plan is nothing without, or a good goal is nothing without a plan. It's a dream. So, do you have the ability? Have you gone into one university and seen the 2022 business plan yet?
I haven't done that yet.
Okay. So between now and December 31st, um, time block yourself. Probably I'm going to say about a half an hour
Mhm.
to fill it out. We'll kind of just go over it. It shouldn't take very long at all to go over it. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, especially, it being you, me, and Julie.
I know, right?
I would have loved to see James on this.
Yes.
And yourself. I mean, this is, I think, well, what was it's actually in there. I think it's like 10% of real estate agents actually use a business plan. And then it goes into that 10%, 60% of that 10% do exactly what you said, Sam. Fill it out, get all excited. I'm gonna make 200,000 this year and never look at the plan again.
Yeah.
I did like your spreadsheet that you sent out for tracking.
Yeah. So I'm trying to implement some things and I put it together and I thought, oh, I might as well share it. So yeah, whatever it benefits, I hope it does.
Stuff like that. I mean, but again, it's a great tool if
Mhm.
the agents use it.
Right. Exactly.
So
I,
how are you
I
doing
think I
today?
can jump in. I know I kind of wasn't listening a little bit. I'm sorry, but if I can jump in, I think I know what you were talking about with the business planning. And it's hard like to stay on throughout the year, but I do think it's important to just stop like right now and put time into it to then look in the future. Even if for some reason 6 months from now you don't necessarily go back to it, at least you stopped right now, at least started and put in a plan in action. And hopefully that's the way I look at it. Like stop, figure it out, and then go. So
Mhm.
anyway, half the battle is just stopping.
And I'll tell you a real quick funny story. Obviously, it's not a secret. I used to be the manager for Weicker, and the heads, I call them the floating heads, would call down and say, "Hey, you're only at 50% of the business plans." Well, a lot of my agents didn't want to use it. They were doing 1 to 3 deals. They were happy with that. There was nothing, and basically, it was forced down their throats. Hey, I need you to do this, and then it's kind of like the whole COVID thing. Hey, if you get a vaccine, I'll give you a donut and an orange juice. So it was like trying to give them something to do something that's benefiting their own business. That's the way I look at it. I was never an advocate of, hey, it is your business.
Mhm.
And like you said, Sam, and I offered it, and I'm definitely going to, do that for you. Is Joel, I don't know if you were listening at that time because most of the time you don't listen to
No,
me.
I was on the phone. Sorry.
You're like my kids. It goes in one ear, out the other.
No, I
My son
listened.
told
I
me
just
last
got a
night.
call right then. I could offer in on something. But anyway, go ahead.
My son told me last night. He goes, "Dad, I hear everything you say. I just don't listen." I appreciate the honesty. Um, so what I'm going to do then with Sam is April 1st, and I'm going to put it in my calendar so because I know I'll forget. Just reach out to Sam. We're going to sit down and we're going to go over a quarterly.
Accountability.
I don't see the benefit in 6 months.
Yeah.
If we
Yeah.
wait 6 months to sit down, there's so much business you could have lost or you could have gained, you know. And as we'll get into the business plan in a few seconds, uh, the business plan basically, you know, I went over it with a fine tooth comb last night, did a lot of research on it. It can be very in depth. And it is. It's how are you going to hold yourself accountable? These are the things that you can't address in the business plan. You can write it down, but if you're not going to follow through on it, and like you said, Sam, if I'm not going to look at it again, really, where is the accountability? And then against what Julie said, it's a waste of your time.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, so I'm going to, you know how to find it, right? It's in One University. And they're still working on the glitch with my One University. So I'm just going to pull it up from the link that
Okay.
you got. And let me share my screen. Screen, there we go.
And while you're pulling that up, I'll just say one thing real too. It's important so for anybody who's watching this after the fact and you're trying to think, well, should I do a business plan or shouldn't I? Again, it's up to you. You can get real in depth or you can just do a basic one, whatever's good for you, your own business. You decide what's best. Don't let it freak you out. Don't let it stress you out. Just take a look at it, see how much money you want to make, see how you want your business to go. So you can do an in-depth or you can just do kind of a basic, whatever is good for you.
Right.
Anyway,
And for those newer agents that might be watching this later on, it is very advisable to reach out to, you know, one of the experienced agents, such as Sam, Julie, myself, anybody who has actually filled it out, because there's a lot of information you're not going to be able to fill out. You didn't have any sales last year. What were your goals coming in? And that's something else you've got to think about. So what you're going to do is you're just going to basically fill in the accountability part. What are your goals moving forward? Are they financial? Is it family? And we'll get more into it. And as I said before, you know, a goal without a plan is just a dream. So, and everyone has dreams. It's a matter of how we're going to get it. One of the things I did like was making your vision so clear, your fears become irrelevant. A lot of people are afraid of different aspects in our industry. There's agents that are afraid of making phone calls. Well, and in your business plan, if that's an aspect you're not going to address, you're not going to try to break through that yet, then maybe it's something else. Maybe it's, you know, we write farming down or more open houses and things like that. Here's exactly what I was telling you earlier, that less than 10% of real estate agents actually prepare a written plan and set annual goals. I'm not a big fan of the annual. I like to see quarterly goals. And actually the benefit to that is when you're filling out quarterly goals, if you're doing quarterly taxes, you have all the information that you've spent for that quarter. So you can submit that in along with, you know, whatever money, if you're even doing taxes. This is not a tax thing, so we'll move on from that. Your goals versus objectives. The two terms are often used interchangeable. So it can be a challenge to understand the differences. A goal results in an achievement toward which effort is directed. And hopefully I think that makes a lot of sense. So in thinking of goals, defining your destination is the big picture. That's one of the things. Identifying the direction you take to move towards this destination. That the direction is really, how are you going to get there? Meaning, are you going to use Sync to start building up your leads and things like that? So, and this training is not about me reading just the slides. We're going to actually get into it. And then objective, specific result that a person or a system aims to achieve within a time frame and with available resources. You do have unlimited resources with us. It's amazing. And I've joked about it and I'm kind of serious about it. You know, we have this toolbox of everything on one login. And unless you take that toolbox and dump it out once in a while, there are tools that you will not use and tools that all of a sudden you'll have that aha moment. I say, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that one. So there are so many different tools. Go back in, go into your one login, look at the different access points that you have, and then maybe that'll be one of your goals for the quarter. Master one of those tools. So Why set goals? Julie, why would you set a goal?
Well, there's a lot of reasons to set a goal. I mean, obviously something to look forward to and try to achieve that. It's always nice to hit your goals and feel good about it. But also kind of gives you a direction, like, okay, sometimes your goals are for different reasons, but I think it's something to work towards and achieve.
And your goal doesn't necessarily have to be real estate. Real estate could be the direction you took to achieve that goal. One of my goals is me as my family and I, we want to donate $10,000 to our favorite charity once a year. And in order to achieve that, I need to make that money. I just can't, like the government, just write a check and watch it go. Well, I have to achieve that goal to get there. And that may not be in one lump sum. It may be, over spread out an area. But it's my ultimate goal is to have my children know how good it is to help others. So my direction is real estate. Real estate is going to help. So with me, number two would be more important than the business career aspect of it. Some people, spiritual, personal development, health. Why most people don't set goals? The biggest one is number one, without a doubt. I don't think lack of motivation is why you don't set a goal. A lack of motivation is why you don't follow through on the goal. And then unsure of what you want. That is number one for any new agent. They want the money. They don't know how to get it. So we need to set the goal on how to get that funding. Do you agree, Julie?
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I was going to say before you got started, this is going to be a tough year to kind of balance from, because it wasn't an easy year. Well, it wasn't an easy couple of years. So don't, if you didn't do that well in 2021, that's okay. You know what I mean? You can't, it's been a rough year. So it's been hard.
Without a doubt. I mean, and the one thing that you can take from 2021 is that it has opened more avenues for us to actually reach out. And actually this little acronym here, the TPIN, the N, I think, was more important this year, the non-productive time. Now, when I say non-productive time, I'm not meaning time that you're not producing in the industry. You're not actually meeting clients. You may be sending out emails. You may be doing admin stuff. That's where this year was probably your highest area. Reaching out, just staying in touch, because a lot of people, as we know, sellers still weren't willing to put their house on the market. Buyers didn't want to go above asking and things like that. But the TPIN basically takes your daily tasks and breaks it down into total hours work. That goes back to your time management. How many hours a day? How many hours a week do you want to work? It's pretty amazing if you work a 40 work hour a week and you look at the transactions you did in a month and you divide that into how many weeks were in that month, look at what your hourly rate was. It blows some people's mind. Then I ask them to look at their time blocking, and their time blocking is not accurate. It only has like 4 hours of actual work. Then I'm like, well, really, technically you only worked 4 hours a week. So you're only working 20 work. So now you've just increased that. What we want to do is we want to address that. We want to help you get to that point of, hey, Rob, coming from saying, Rob, I can only work, 30 hours. I only want to work 30 hours a week. All right. Well, let's break that down into what areas are best for you that you can excel at. And then pick something, like I said, once a quarter that's out of your comfort zone. Let's try to address that. So as you get into it, obviously, we're trying to, in order to set a goal, we need to know where we're coming from. If you're coming from zero, if you're a new agent, your earnings is going to be zero. Transaction is going to be zero. Listing appointments and things like that. This here works great off of what Sam set out earlier. How many people have you met this? How many phone calls did you make? And then run your numbers off that, run percentages. I'm a big numbers driven gentleman. And I love to see, hey, if I'm doing something right and the percentages are over this, I'm going to keep doing that, but I'm going to go ahead and challenge myself. What was my goal last year? Julie, did you have a goal, or Sam, last year? I mean, because this year here, we knew we were in COVID. So did you adjust your goals, or?
I can't remember what my goal was. I think my goal was like 30 transactions. I just counted the other week. I did 17. So it's like not even close. So yeah, need to make some adjustments to what I do, obviously.
Well, the other question, I mean, obviously, it was a tough year,
Oh, yeah.
without a doubt.
Mhm.
Things are getting better. We'll wait and see how things progress. But the other question was, and I used my first 3 years in the industry. The first year I did 29 transactions, just barely broke 4 million. That's a lot of low end houses.
Mhm.
So what I did with my business plan was, okay, I can obviously handle 29 transactions by myself, no assistant, but let me bump my price point up. So that's something I would ask you to look at, Sam. Maybe you only did 17 what was your price point higher?
I don't think so. No.
No, okay.
Yeah, that's something I
Because then
need.
you could justify the less transactions for a higher price point.
Yeah.
But
See, I'm gonna stop right here. I think it's important, like, don't be upset with yourself though, Sam, if you didn't hit your goals because it was such a tough year. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we worked so hard and made not that much money. Some of us did better than others, but like, you're running around with these people and you're writing offers, you're not getting them more and more, and you're up against, it just was tough. So I really want to make it clear, don't beat up on yourself at all. Like, just, we survived this year and we're on to the next, and just hopefully next year is gonna be better.
Yes.
And I
You
feel
still
like I'm
have-
saying that to myself too, by the way. When I
Yeah.
say that to you, I mean me.
we still have a few more days this month. So you can technically get something under contract and close before the end of the year. It'll
I'm
be
trying.
tough.
That's what I was on the
but you
phone
can
with.
do
So that's what I'm trying to do.
Um, so most people are going to write no, I didn't achieve my goals, and you're going to
Yeah.
know why.
Mhm.
What did I do well? So and that's where, like I was asking earlier, what do you feel you excel at? Is it meeting sellers? And be more specific than just meeting sellers. Or is it making phone calls to your sync leads? Is it following up? Is it, doing different events? What do you feel that you did strong in 2021? Again, it's going to be very limited. We just started doing events, and as you've seen through the events, there's not a huge turnout yet, but things have to build again. So it's almost like we're rebuilding our business. The great thing is you don't need the branding. You've already built your branding. Now we just need to get it out there. And I was actually just I'm upstairs now. I was just downstairs with Shirley, and she met with one of her sync leads. He came in to talk to her. He wanted to meet with her before she actually took him out looking at properties. And he said, and I quote, "Ever since I clicked on that information, I've been getting phone calls off the hook. But because you called me first," and she goes, no, I texted you first. He goes, oh, that's right, you texted me first. I decided to come out and meet with you. So again, it's one of those, we got to be the first people in front of them. And when we're in front of them, what are we doing? So we need to know what you do well. So your 2021 investments, estimates on cost and investment operations. Basically what we're asking for there is, if you're doing marketing, how much are you spending a year? And when we can break it down into quarters. Like I said, I'm a huge advocate of quarters, but you can write in a year, divide it into 4. Are you buying sync leads? What we're doing here is we want to see your return on investment. And I say we want to see, it's not for us, it's actually for you. I want you to see your return on investment. As an investor myself, if money's not being spent, I'm not getting the return that I expected, I look into it. Why am I not getting the return that I expected? I know I did all my homework on what I expect. So why am I not receiving it back? And then you can make adjustments. If you don't write it down, Sam, I know the same way you just got done saying, you'll forget.
Mhm.
How many transactions you had last year, or what the average sale price. We have to write this stuff down so that when we look at it in 4 months, we can compare. We can see where we're at, where we're going. The reason why I said April is, January 1st is our new start. The other thing is, and I think Julie, you guys will all agree, there is no more spring market. If we don't get snow, spring market starts January 1st. And it just continues on. As we were looking through some of the meetings we had, some of the slides, we're seeing, the equity in houses increasing, the number of people who have equity in homes, and that changes our dialect, changes the way we talk to buyers and sellers. So just a little tidbit there. where did my business come from? This is probably the most important sheet on this entire thing. Where did your business come from? Was it past clients? Was it your sphere? Allied resources, realtor referrals, staff referrals? I don't know the difference between a staff referral and I guess that would be the office referrals, Julie.
Probably.
Like, I guess, if Cassie was sitting on the floor and took a call for one of your listings and gave it to you, I guess that would be considered for sale by owners, expired, FISBOs, things like that. And this farming's on there. Again, I'm just going to touch base on farming. I'll be doing a big thing on farming in January, but farming is not an instant. It's not the millennials. And my son's I constantly use my kids as an example. My son bought some stuff and Amazon said it'd be here tomorrow. And it wasn't here. It was here tomorrow at 10. He was having a full down meltdown because it wasn't here right then and there. Farming is not that. Farming, you have to stay in touch. It's got to be continuous. I say minimum 6 months. It's more like a year before you actually start seeing the fruits of the seeds that you planted, meaning the mailers you sent out. And then you can dive into so much more with the farming aspect of it with DDDM, every door direct mail, which is cheaper, larger formats. And like I said, we'll be getting into that next in January. Your signs, calls, all that. Fill out this information. Once you're in, you can actually type it in. It's not, I don't have the format where I can type in right now. But we want to know where your leads came from. So again, that goes back to what am I proficient at? Am I staying in touch with my sphere? If you didn't have any sphere of influence, maybe that's something we addressed in the first quarter. During our meeting, we shared information on a few ideas of what to do to stay ahead of the market and to get yourself, in front of these clients, because people are going to be selling houses. The market's going to change. And then it's evaluating what you did. So how many of the past clients listed? How many buyers did you get closed? What's your commission earned? The cost of the business. That would be pictures. If you bought a new sign, maybe you did marketing, just sold, just listed cards, cost of that, and then you minus that out to give you your net income. With me, I always put my net income in as what my commission was, not what the commission paid. So, minus the transaction fee, or when I was with Weichert, it was minus the percentage they were getting. I put that in there, then I minus my cost out of that. So that gave me a true net income. And this is also really good to do if you're doing it quarterly, then you can actually hand this over. You add up everything on there, and that's what you made in a quarter. And then you also have your expenses, so you can hand that to your accountant, or if you do your own taxes. Any questions so far on these couple of slides?
No, but I like the idea that you suggest doing it quarterly. I think it's easier to, if that would work for you, that might be easier for some people.
Well, the other reason,
it's easier to digest.
Yeah, and the other reason, like what Sam and I were talking, and again, I wasn't sure if you were quite on yet, was in 6 months, if you need someone to sit down and say, hey, look, did you do this? Not forcing you to do it. It's an accountability coach. Hey, people pay a lot of money for a personal trainer. The personal trainer is not there to do the work for you. He's basically, or she, is your accountability. Hey, you got to do this. Are you here? Why are you not here? They're not doing the work for you. They can't force you to do it. It's, hey, you're going to spend the money and you're getting the accountability coach for free, basically. So congratulations, Sam. Smart choice. So again, 6 months is a lot of money to lose. So in a quarter, we can find a hiccup and change it so that when 6 months, you got it fixed. Or, maybe we want something different. I don't know what Sam is proficient at and what's outside of her comfort zone. Sam, what would you say is outside of your comfort zone?
Cold calling.
Okay. Yeah, cold calling is hard, especially right now. I don't see it as a huge benefit. I think more farming would be a better thing than cold calling. Just like, door knocking is not advisable right now. I picked up listings door knocking. I loved it. Walking through the neighborhood, talking to people who had their dogs. But again, if you're cold calling, I would have a different value other than, hey, do you know what the market's doing? So as you go down here, this checklist is going to be basically your losses. Listings that you went on that you didn't get. Buyers that may have decided never, you saw them 3 or 4 times. Anybody you spent time is money. Anybody you've spent time with and lost. Now on listings, you can actually put the loss income in there. Unless you're really tracking buyers as far as where they're going and if they ever bought, you really can't. But then that's where, remember, we're talking about your hourly rate. Then you can put the hourly rate. Hey, I spent 7 hours with them in 3 days, making $100 an hour, so that's $700 almost. How to, and why is this important? What did we do? And I'm not saying that every time it's the agent's fault or it's our fault. But if it was something that we didn't address, that we're looking back at, this is going to help you with. And here it is at the bottom. What could I have done differently on the listing? And I never suggest undersell, undersell. 7%, 6%, whatever. But I never see the benefit other than, I think Julie and I were talking about that one pro bono a year and not doing it completely pro bono. But is there a benefit to doing something at a lower price point to achieve something higher later on within the year? Or maybe you're working with your sister or your brother and you're cutting them a deal. Other than that, I'm a huge advocate in you get what you pay for in this industry. And if you're reducing your commissions to 5%, maybe that's something you can do differently. You know what? I'm going to stick to the 6%. It is negotiable, but it's your standard. What is your standard? Mine is 6%, with the exception of nonprofits and my family. Not friends, nonprofits and my family. So what would I do different? Nothing in that aspect of it. What would I do different as far as moving forward? I would actually reach out to my sphere a little bit more and let them know, hey, just keeping in mind, grandmom, you're getting old. Let's send you down to Florida. I can sell your house. Hey, the other thing is I mentioned in one of the meetings, do a CMA a day. Reach out to your sphere or your past clients and do a CMA on them. Send it to it, not just as an email, but as a video email. Hey, did you know that your house is now valued $105,000 more than what you bought it last year or 2 years ago, or maybe it's $300,000. No, that's kind of high, but did you make any changes? You're staying in front of them. And with the sphere, like I said, that's something that I'm going to work on this year, is staying in front of my sphere. I have a huge barbecue every year. I don't invite enough of my sphere. I consider it more of my friends now. But this year here, I'm actually going to invite more of my sphere, and I'm going to write off half of my barbecue as a tax write-off. And that's per my accountant, not my idea. Wait,
can you stop for a second?
No.
Before I kind of remembered when we did this last year. This is probably the most important page of this whole thing, and it's probably the hardest, and it's probably the one that you least want to do. So I do think that it's important to do this page. Don't skip over it. You do have to spend a little time and go back and look, but I do feel like this is the one where you have to take the hard look in the mirror and go, okay, you know what? I'm not perfect. I did some things wrong. What could I have done better? What should I do differently? And that's really hard on anybody. I know it's hard for me. So I just, but you have to just admit it and spend the time on this page. If you don't want to do it right now, come back to it, because it is important. So anyway, I just wanted to say that.
No.
It's a very important page.
And I think the one thing that's not on here, and I would use it under other, would be my sync leads. My, I know it says internet, but that's more towards your website. Your sync leads or leads from a third party. Are you following up with them? If so, how often? How soon? One of the unique stats that NAR put out was 48% of buyers that go online never receive a phone call. No one ever calls them back. Out of that 52% that do get lucky and get a phone call from an agent, they wait on average 916 minutes. It's crazy. And they normally go with the first person who calls them. So again, that goes back to like, hey, if I'm paying for these leads, this is my money. We go back to that page where it was your investments. Are you seeing the return on investments? When we look deeper into that in this section here, like Julie was addressing, is it something I'm doing? If I am reaching out to these leads and I say it's 11 times before you move them to like a drip campaign. And 11 times doesn't mean 11 phone calls. It could be, a variation of phone calls, texts, emails, but you reached out to them 11 times and they've ignored you. Drip campaign. If you didn't, then that's maybe something we can do differently. Something that you felt, Rob, I didn't reach out to my sphere enough, or I didn't go after any FISBOs, or I want to increase my sales. I want to increase my sales volume. How would I go about doing it? We can address it anywhere here. What did you do differently last year? Did you do nothing on that aspect? And write it down so that we can. And again, I keep saying I'm not going in looking at these. If you want help, Sam and I agree. I have no problems meeting with you, sitting down and going over. If you need help doing this, let one of us know. We'll help you out and do it. So biggest lesson learned. Real estate in Pennsylvania was not COVID friendly. That's it. For those of us that were Delaware, we were able to still maintain our businesses down there. But this is 2021. 2021 was open. So what were the biggest lessons you learned? Julie, you have any, or Sam, that you would write down there?
I don't know, Sam, do you have one?
I'm thinking.
I know.
I have one for you, Julie. You actually told me it. You said it was the verbiage you used with buyers.
Yeah. Yes. You know what? That's right. And I'll tell you what I did with that. I actually went back to my buyers and I basically apologized to them. I said, listen, next time I saw them at their houses, I said, listen, I just got to let you know this. I saw some stats and you need to know this. Like, hey, yeah, you're paying a little bit more now, but it's still going to increase in the next few years. So, don't feel, it's not the end of the world if you're going to pay too much now. Your prices, your houses are still going to increase in value. And I said, I'm really sorry if I came off a little negative because this market, the prices in my mind were too high. I'm just a verbal person that just comes out. I can't help it. I just how I am. And they were like, it ended up being a really good discussion with both of them. And we sat there and talked about it for 10 or 15 minutes. And we talked about the future and kind of went on. So it was a little bit of a light bulb moment. I appreciate that, Rob. And so I feel like I got to take that into next year. Like, okay, prices are still going to increase. Yes, you're paying a little bit higher than you think, but that's okay. So if you're not, somebody else is going to, and then you're going to be right here at the next house and you're going to be at the same thing. So you might as well get one that you want.
Mhm.
If you're going to overpay, get one that you want.
And I saw one on an agent a couple of years ago. But then the biggest lesson learned was to treat buyers like sellers. And what he meant by that was when he goes to a listing appointment, he's got this huge portfolio. He goes through, and does, hey, this is what I'm going to do for marketing. This is how I'm going to do open houses. This is how I'm going to do this. This is what I suggest we should list that in this area here. He does all this stuff. The buyers, he was just meeting at the house, showing a house, putting an offer in, and then it was all little hiccups. Now, don't get me wrong, not every transaction is that way. But he took from that, he's like, I need to treat my buyers the same way. I need to sit down with them and go over the process so that, number one, they're a little bit more comfortable. Number two, they're much more knowledgeable. And number three, my job's easier. So his point was, I'm proactive with the sellers, showing them everything I'm going to do, but I never did that with my buyers. He started to do that. He actually had less fall throughs because buyers were more aware of, hey, and the other thing is he didn't have that conversation well, back then it wasn't that big of a deal, but I'm assuming that conversation of, hey, I put 7 offers in, you kind of already set the stage that, yes, market's changing, we're still doing that. So for that agent, it was, addressing both sellers and buyers alike, doing a consultation, because we do a listing presentation.
A lot of buyers don't want to come in and sit for a consultation though.
You know what?
I've
Do it when
had
you're walking through the
issues
house.
lately, especially.
You've had what, Sam?
I've had issues getting buyers in for consultations lately, like ever since COVID, basically. Because I used to do a lot of buyer consultations, whoever I could get in before COVID, and a lot of people did come. But I feel like after COVID, it's like pulling teeth, like to get people in to sit down with you a lot of times when they're, a buyer.
Did you try to, I'm just curious, were they receptive to like Zoom? Because I feel like I met more people on Zoom as consultations this year too.
I've offered Zoom.
They just didn't want to do
I don't
that.
know, yeah.
Probably Zoomed out.
Yeah, I don't know if, maybe it's just the buyer not being
But the other things,
serious, or I don't know.
Yeah, but you can't give up. Don't give up.
No, I know.
on it,
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Mhm.
and some of the other things, the consultation doesn't have to be in one sitting.
Yeah.
And what I would do a lot of times if I had a client that didn't, I don't want to drive up to the office, or I just meet me at this house. And I've met them like at 6 different houses. I've broken my speech down into so many little parts that I'm like, okay, well, here, do you like this house? All right, well, we already talked about the pre-approval, so I don't have to worry about that part of it. But let me tell you about the market. So while we're looking at the house, I'm telling him a little bit about, hey, there's multiple
Yeah.
offers. The houses don't sit very long. All right, that was one
I've done
house.
that too. Mhm.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. As long as you're doing something to educate the clients, because that's where we'll have less fall throughs. And when I say fall throughs, people are like, yeah, it's so much. But you think about it. If you have a client that's under contract and they fall through once, you're redoing your work when you get the second offer accepted. So
Mhm.
now you've cut down the amount of money you're making. You've really cut that in half. And if that same client has another fall through, that's less and less money. We're not like a doctor's office, which every time they come in, we get to charge them again. With the buyers, we don't charge them until closing.
Mhm.
There's different things out there. We'll get into that later on. But again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Zoom meeting. It doesn't necessarily have to be in person at the office meeting, but be proactive with them. Now, again, I was just using that as an example. But there's tons of big lessons out there.
Mhm.
So
I did.
whatever
I-
lessons,
I
what's
did
that?
something, I did something different again also with these buyers that I've been working with. So normally I would have waited until they found the house and then we would go over the contract. And then it's a little stressful for them. And I've done that for so long. And so this year I said, let me just try something a little different. And I said, hey, why don't we just meet up on a call? It can be over a phone. I'm going to send you the contract. Let me just go over that with you ahead of time. And then that way we're not waiting until you find a house because you're all excited. You're not going to want to listen to me, what I'm saying, but these are important things. And they're like, yeah, that's a good idea. So actually both the buyers that I'm working with, I actually did a call with them. I sent them a blank agreement sale and I went over the whole thing with them. It took like an hour and a half. And they were like, but in that time, it got me an opportunity to say, by the way, here are some things you can do. You can pay the seller's transfer tax, or you can put more money up. We talked about different, things that you can do when you actually put an offer in. So when it came time to put an offer in on something, it took like maybe a half hour at the most, and it was less stressful for them. So I feel like that's probably something I'm going to do differently moving forward. If I have a buyer, maybe not, that's not the first thing I'm going to say to them after I show them some properties and you get to know each other and all that kind of stuff, you get a good feeling. And, oh, hey, by the way, let's do this before you find a place. Do you think you want to do that? And they're like, oh yeah, that's okay. And then, you try to make it as interesting and fun as possible as you're going over that agreement of sale that, you want to poke your eye out after you look at 14 pages of nonsense. But I think it's easier for them to deal with. Anyway, I'm sorry. I just thought of that too as you're talking about that.
You're good. So the 2022 goals, basically, this is where you're writing in
I'm going to mute
what you
myself.
want. Why are these goals important to you? If you don't hit this goal, who will suffer? What will be the sacrifice? And it's really getting personal. You don't have to fill out every single line. Remember, the more you fill out, though, the easier it is to address whatever it was that either you, and don't get me wrong, you could be well above these goals, and that's great, but it's below that line. I don't want anyone to not hit their goals, but also make the goals reasonable. You don't know how many first-time agents I dealt with. I had come into the industry. I want to make 6 figures. That's a great goal. Is it achievable? What's your pipeline look like? What industry are you coming from? So things like that. But here, the number one thing on this, which is not going to be accurate, because NAR even stated it out in the last 2 years, the fall through rate has dropped well below what the national average was, which is around 13%. 13% of contracts that get written and accepted fall through, meaning something happened, mortgage contingency, inspections, the buyer seller just broke the contract, whatever the reason is. Your average is about 13%. It is well below that. And the reason for that is people went in without contingencies. So they went to the table, closed, bang, done. Now they're having regrets, whatever it is. But so this year here on 2022, your fall through rate should not be higher than 13%. You want a lower one. And again, that goes back to what we were talking about with the listing presentations, the buyer's consultations, giving them the information so that you're very proactive rather than reactive. That's all going to help the fall through rate. You are still going to have clients that are going to fall through mortgages, whatever it is. But if you give them all the information up front, it really does, it limits it. The other thing is when you're the ancillary services, when you're suggesting you're referring business to people people that you've trusted, that have worked with your clients in the past, that also helps in the accountability part for your fall. So we're just going to kind of screw that. So again, this one here, basically, you're going to complete all the tabs. It's your benchmarks, business model. What are you looking? And then a number is going to generate down the bottom. It is acceptable for my business to profit less than that amount. Whatever amount that is for you. Again, it's determined by your goals, your individual goals, your desired profit, how much you think you're going to spend, if anything. Newer agents may put 0 in there. Average commission. Now, for a newer agent, if you want, just give us a call and we'll tell you what the average commission for the office is. And then the average sale price, same thing. But the sale price is really going to be geared towards more of a geographical area rather than what the office does, because the office does business in Maryland, Delaware, and PA. So if an agent's Maryland and Delaware, it might have a different sales price and average commission. But let us know and we can help you out with that. If you are a new agent, if you're an experienced agent, you should probably have that in from last year or what you expect this year. These questions are unique, and it gets really, again, very in-depth. 5 things I will do to increase my revenue. Well, go back to your goals. Is revenue one of your goals? If revenue is not one of your goals, you may not write anything in there. Maybe it's, like I said, with me, the revenue is part of my goal, but it's not the reason for it. The revenue is actually the direction I go in to get to my goal. 5 things to keep or enhance my existing business. Number 1 would be, and we've talked about it, I've talked to a few agents, your lead gen. Do you need a lead gen? If not, well, lead gen wouldn't be one of the ones to increase your revenues. Maybe it is, like you were saying, Sam, you don't have to do cold calling. Maybe it is, hey, well, we'll call a neighborhood. Are we going to have a different dialogue? Yeah, we can sit down and talk about multiple scripts. I joke with Julie, I've got like a book like that thick with just scripts. Some of them I've actually created myself. Some I've adapted for what I need to use. And they can be various things. Another thing to increase my revenue would be time blocking. Am I doing time blocking correctly? For sell by owners, expireds. Like I said, for me, it's going to be my sphere. I know my sphere knows I'm in the industry, but I just want to let them know, hey, this is what your house is worth. So different things we mentioned in our meeting in November. Some of the other things that I was going to do is I do give gifts to my past clients for Christmas. I'm not waiting till December. I've actually already sent them out to everybody. Some of my clients got pretzels of the month for the year. I've already gotten emails back. Oh my gosh, Rob, those, I think my first pretzel that went out was a honey mustard pretzel nugget. And it's actually from hers. So once a month, they get this different pretzel that comes in a little container. So the first one already went out. They loved the fact it came in November. So it wasn't just more, the clients are inundated with things in December. I did say first sent, first remembered, meaning that's the first gift they got from real estate. That's the first gift they got from almost anyone. Was in November. It was before Thanksgiving. So maybe it's that to change up to increase your revenue. That increases your revenue in a different aspect. That would be more back to the referrals from your past clients. 5 things to keep or enhance my existing business. Julie, what would one of those 5 be for you? Give a good example.
To keep or enhance my existing business.
Yeah.
You know, this is a recurring thing for me. I'm so bad at personally staying in contact with my past customers because I get so busy with things that I just find it hard to go back and like make phone calls. So every year I always say I'm going to do better at that. I'm going to do better at that. And sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. So I feel like that would be something that I would like to try to do better this year, is stay in better contact with my past clients, because they're the ones that send me the referrals. I get referrals from anyway, whether I stay in contact with them or not. It'd be nice if I actually stayed in contact with them better. I like the idea of the pretzels, by the way. That's a good idea. So
Yeah, I got it actually from Christmas Vacation when he was given the Jelly of the Month Club. And they're like, oh, that's the gift that keeps on giving. I'm like, hey, that makes sense. I'm not going to give jellies to people, but everyone loves pretzels. So yeah, and hers does have, you can go on the hers website. That's my sales
how much
pitch
was
for
that,
hers.
Rob?
I think it was $49.
Oh, that's not bad.
No. But so with Julie, then go back with the 5 things you would actually do that to increase your sales,
Right.
where you would put in there. And you know what? It could be something as simple as putting every client as soon as they close into a drip campaign. And that drip campaign, I constantly say the holiday month. It's so easy. It's non-intrusive. And it just keeps your name out there. The other things that you can do with your CRM is put in an anniversary date for when they purchase the house and set a reminder for yourself. So it sends you an email. Hey, call Joe for 123 Main Street. And hey, congratulations on your 1-year anniversary. Just checking in, see how things are going. Or you could always send, like a gold rose bush or something that ties into our, I wouldn't say a black rose bush, but something that ties into our colors or your branding. Send that out. One of the other things that an agent did in the past with me was they wanted to increase their business. So they sent out little postcards. And on it, all it said was, all you need to sell your house is this card. And it had their business card and this pen. And it was one of their pens. That's it. He got, I think it was maybe 2 out of 2,000 that he sent out. There's so many unique ways that you can do things. So the keep and enhance my business, again, I'm gonna tie Sync into it because Sync's like, one of the lead gens. If Sync is doing great for you and you've done your report on the return on investment, then you're gonna keep Sync to enhance my business. And then also tie the Sync leads into your campaigns. Reach back out to them once they close. Hey, and this number is going to blow your mind. You know how many agents within the first week after closing ask for a referral from their clients?
Not many.
2%.
Wow.
2% go, hey, and this is a pretty easy one. How do you think I did? I thought you did great, Rob. Well, if you know anyone else that could use my services, could you let me know? Sure, why not? They don't have to let you know, but at least you asked the question. I had one that was like, hey, my boyfriend's getting ready to sell his house. Great. What's his number? I never want to give my number. Why? Because I want to be in control. I don't want to have to call the client and go, hey, your boyfriend never called me, and now you got a 3-way tag team going. No. Hey, I'm calling Dan. Dan, Julie just gave, and I'm sorry, I'm using you and Dan's boyfriend, girlfriend. Julie just gave me your number. I helped her buy her house, and she said you could definitely use my services. I'd like to offer her any assistance that I can get. Boom, done. Call back again. So
Another thing to ask for is a review.
yes. Yeah. And then I know Zillow's not the best in the world. We created that monster, but the Zillow reviews people do read. So
Yeah.
if you can get it on Zillow, send them a link to fill out that review, get it copied, put it, on a blog. I saw a lot of agents now on Facebook are screenshotting those reviews, sharing that on Facebook, and then acknowledging that person and, adding them. That's the other big thing is add every client. Hey, you're not a friend of mine on Facebook. Here you go.
Mhm.
It's another way of staying in front of someone. And then me and Julie learned something, and I know this is off topic, but before you share the just sold with your clients, get permission. And I don't mean just verbal, written permission saying I can use your image. And, because there's a fine line there. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, you can always say congratulations to Joe and Julie on the purchase of their new house. That's perfectly fine as long as you're not using their picture. And I would never use their house. If you're using the house, don't use a number. But yeah, you're right, Sam. That's a great idea. So 5 things to improve my quality of service. I think we hit on one of those. Be proactive. You're proactive. People have confidence in you. They know that, hey, 1, 2, or 3 are going to happen. Now, 4 can always happen. And that's something that I've never seen before. It's in our industry. It still blows my mind of phone calls that I'll get from agents with stuff that I haven't dealt with yet. And then sitting down. We heard that agents are problem solvers. That's our job. We can get them through the transaction, but when things come up, we've got a problem solve. So one of your qualities, improving your quality of service, maybe, hey, I'm going to get more education. I'm going to take more classes, or maybe I'm going to attend 5 more of these meetings, or maybe I'll watch 5 more of these in the year. What would you say, Sam, would help improve something quality of service with you?
I guess sometimes I fail to follow up. So, I mean, keeping in touch with like if I have a client under contract, just checking in more often, I think would be something good to do.
I agree with that 110%, especially on the seller side.
Mhm.
Because we have a tendency of, the buyer's got to go through the appraisal, and it might be 2 weeks between the inspections that you just replied to and everything's smooth there, and the appraisal. Well, you have a couple of reasons you can call them to check up. Number one, if there were things that had to be addressed, how are those things coming? Other one is just to let them know, hey, moving along great. I just talked to the mortgage company. They're ordered the appraisal. They're waiting for the call back. Oh, by the way, do you need anything? So yes, I agree. That's probably one of the easier things to forget is the seller during those dates. 5 people and how I will incorporate them into my success in my business. Number 1 for me, when I was starting out, was I actually offered, and I actually have 2 bartenders that are real estate agents. They're with a referral company now, but I pay for them to go to school to refer everything to me so I could pay them. Not me directly, but the broker, and then I became a broker. Why? Bartenders are probably the best people in the world. They get their little business cards. They hand it out. So I've incorporated a referral network of my own. Now, yes, they're with the referral company because there's got to be someplace they hang their license. But I pay for them to go to school. Didn't cost very much. And they were able to do it. At the time, it wasn't online, so they had to do nighttime or weekends. And it's worked out. So that's one. 5 people, maybe it's a sphere. Again, reaching out to your sphere, incorporate them into your business. Maybe it's like Julie was saying, she has problems following up with her clients after they close. Maybe it's a transactional coordinator or someone, just an agent that's just going to do follow-up calls. It could be anything. Now, remember, again, you can't directly pay anyone. It has to be paid through the broker. But if you have an assistant, that's paid through you. The broker pays you, you pay the assistant. You just have to set that up properly. Julia, can you think of any people that you would incorporate in your business success?
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about this before COVID hit. I was thinking of putting like a little small network of people together, friends that, you know, small business owners that we can kind of just send referrals back and forth with. Nothing formal, nothing that you had to pay, because I know there's a lot of, you know, networks that you have to pay for to get in, which are good. But I was thinking like it would be good, like if I, you know, got an attorney, got, you know, insurance person, people that I knew, and then just start sending business back and forth, and then they would send business back to me. But then COVID hit, and then, you know, I don't know, I went temporarily insane because of COVID and all that good stuff. So anyway, I do feel like that would be something to go back to. Like it doesn't have to be real formal. And then those could be people that you incorporate that would be the success, because you're sending business back and forth. And it may be like somebody that does flowers, has their own flower shop, or doesn't have to necessarily be real estate related. It could be somebody with their own business.
And
And you're
here's
just trying to
something-
help them.
And here's something unique, Julie. Something at the time I did it, the technology wasn't quite there. I actually reached out to a doctor's office and said, hey, look, I've got this 3D mapping that I can do. I can come into your office, take pictures, do a walkthrough, and you can put it onto your website. At the bottom, it's going to have my information everywhere. You know what I mean? Every page, anything they do. We actually did it. Now looking at COVID, might not be a bad idea to reach out to a doctor's office or a local mechanic and do a little video clip of, you know, you're walking through, watching the change. Hey, this is Mike, he does the oil changes. And everything is actually branded to you down the corner. You send it to them, let them put it on their website. You've done something for them, you're advertising. Is it always going to pay? No, it's like a billboard. You know, you may see a billboard, but you're driving by too fast, you forgot the number, but you remember the name. That's the same thing, you know, but it's a lot like what you were saying. And especially now with COVID, where people might be moving into the neighborhoods, things like that, having that ability to see what the groomer facilities look like for a dog, like my dog. Or in the case with your buyers, you have a buyer moving into Westford. What do I do? 5 people. I'm gonna reach out to a local mechanic, ask him if he's got a coupon, put together a little coupon book, hand it to my buyer. Congratulations, along with whatever gift. Here's a haircutting place. Here's the list of doctor's offices close to you. Oh, by the way, the Jennersville, you know, hospital just got bought by this company. So you got the hospital, laundromat, you know, things that people don't even think about. I think the 2 major ones or 3 major ones are, especially up by me, where can I get a drink? We only have 2 places in Penn Township that you can drink that actually serve alcohol back to you.
Your house and Dan's.
Yeah, that's it. But mechanics and hair salons. If people are moving 18 miles away, they may not, especially with the price of gas, they may not want to drive 18 miles to go there. But you have a suggestion for, you know, VLL Saloon, which not saloon, salon. Sorry, you had me thinking of drinking again. But you reach out to them. Hey, do you have a coupon? I'm a real estate agent. I have a client looking in here. I'd love to refer them. You know, maybe it's a 10% off your first visit or 20% off a product, whatever it is. But don't be afraid to take that extra step and incorporate, like Julie said, outside entities that can benefit and use same thing. Drop your business cards off. I've told agents since they started out, take 10 business cards with them everywhere they go. Every day, do not go home until you hand out those 10 business cards. And I'm not saying hand 10 business cards to one person. Hand out 10 business cards. Just say hi. So, yeah, there's plenty of ways of doing that. Incorporate, again, success in my business. If you had like more money, more time, and assistant, could you achieve more goals? That I think is more or less for the agents that are in the industry a little bit. that actually do, you know, like Sam, you were saying, you know, hey, if you hit your goals, are you going to need someone to help you?
Mhm.
You know, Julie said, don't beat yourself over this year. I agree 110%. I'm not beating myself over the amount of sales I did this year. But if I do what I want to do, or, you know, if I'm an agent and I want to do 40 transactions, if I do that, do I need more help? Are my clients suffering? And in that case, if your clients are suffering, your referrals are going to suffer. What is my greatest strength? With me, I think it's the ability to talk. I can talk about anything.
Wait, let me act surprised.
There you go. Or like my son says, the ability to make people laugh. Smile goes a mile. So, Sam, your strength may be your ability to convey the whole process to your clients. But because of COVID, we weren't able to do that in person. So how will you then adapt that strength?
Mhm.
What makes you unique? That, I think, is the strongest question in real estate on the buyer side, bar none. Buyers can use anybody they want. And 9 times out of 10, they're spending the same amount of money, which would be 0. Things may change. You know, listening to NAR, they may change where sellers are only doing 2%, and then we're asking the buyer to do 1%. But until that time changes, you know, buyers can choose Julie over you, Sam. What makes you unique? What is it about you that says, use me? And B, like Julie said, you got to look in the mirror and you got to be honest with yourself. If you're not honest on these plans, you're setting yourself up for failure. How are you using that in your business? Are you telling people? That's the key right there. Again, like I said, you know, these go really into detail. You don't have to fill out every single one of them. What are your weekly goals? That would really fall into what Sam handed out. And again, if you're watching this, just reach out to Sam or me. I have it saved. Sam created a great tracking spreadsheet. I believe it was Excel, right?
It was Excel. Yeah. So you can adjust it, you know, if whatever's in there doesn't work for you and how you know, prospect.
Exactly. And maybe you're adding another column or a line or something.
Mhm.
And if
if
you need
you
help
do,
how to do Excel spreadsheet, talk to Cassie, she'll teach you.
so, and this is where like the quarter, and this is why I mentioned quarters to you, Sam, is that it seems like most experts say that the quarter is a little easier. Like Julie said, it's a smaller piece of the pie to digest. And it's not, you're not losing if you do struggle for that quarter, you're not struggling for 6 months. And that's where the aggravation and the frustration and the, am I in the right business? The questions about yourself and your business come up. A quarter, 4 months. Hey, if in 2 months you're struggling, then call me. You know, or I know we talk more than once every quarter or once every 2 months. But once again, it's being honest with yourself and not being afraid to ask for help. I still ask for help. Now I don't ask Julie for help because she doesn't listen to me, but I would if I was asking advice on buyers and sellers, or maybe it's the contract. Don't be afraid to ask for help on any aspect of real estate. Healthy habits needed. Number 1, believe it or not, sleep. Take a vacation. Take time for your significant other, for yourself. Those habits are needed. Take time for your family. Poor habits to give up me would be smoking. I just need to stop smoking. It really affects me because, you know, that's, I add up. It's like 2 minutes every time. Not good. Not good. And we have the summary. Your mission statement does not have to be identical to Realty One's mission statement. Your mission statement should be a little bit more personalized. As a brokerage, we want to reach out to as many agents, and our mission statement should help yours achieve its goal, but it should not match it. And I like this last section here, the daily rocks. People don't like goal or tasks as a word, so they use rock. I don't know. I'm okay with having a task or a goal. The list of rocks that you need to accomplish to meet your fundamental goals. And again, with any of these questions here, a little bit more personal, any of these questions that you have, or when you're filling this out and you're like, hey, I need this information, don't be afraid to ask us. We do have the access. We can get you the information as to what your average sale was, how many units you sold in the last year. And as far as presentations and things like that, if you're questioning, I don't know what to write down to maybe enhance my business, call us. I'm more than happy. Do you guys have any questions or any additional information to add? Well, the one thing I would say is try to get this done before December 31st. Make this like a end of the year resolution. Hey, I'm going to get my business goal done. And then make some time to sit down with me.
I also, one more thing I was just going to say, Rob, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think it's important. We didn't really talk about it, but I think part of what we should do in your goals is to have, to do more education and educate yourself. I mean, I know we're going to have to do continuing education, but spend some time getting on the 1.U and watching videos and learning things and just, getting on things and learning stuff, and just, you can always learn new things, always, always, always. So make education part of your goals for next year, because there's a lot of stuff happening. The market's ever changing. Just learn stuff. But anyway, that's
It's funny, Julie, because we did talk about that. That was actually here. What resources will you use to get this?
Yeah.
What resources will you use to achieve your goals? And without a doubt, education is probably one of the most important ones. I thought one of the greatest classes I ever took was a negotiating expert.
Yeah.
The NC1. Now I don't use that that designation because of the broker's designation, but I still tell people that I went, I had an additional, I think it was 43 hours of negotiating to learn who I was negotiating with. Is it the seller? Is it the agent? Is it you? So yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it says right here: podcasts, videos, books, seminar, mentors. All the training that we offer. And when you do it, log it, write it down. Now, one university keeps it on record for you, so that's great if you're doing one university. But if you're doing these trainings that you're seeing it and you're seeing the recording, log it down. Hey, today's date, I sat down and listened to the Business Building 2022. And then you know what? When we sit down and you write that down, I can say, oh, great, what did you take from it? You got to be able to regurgitate something to show that you retained it. Just sitting there listening to it, it's not going to help. You got to put the time in, the effort into your business plan. Be as honest as you can about your business plan. Make your goals achievable. And I'm not saying don't reach for the 200,000 a year, but if you're reaching for the 200,000 a year, everything else has to add up. Meaning you're going to be working more than 40 hours a week. Maybe you're working 70 hours a week. You got a time block and things like that. So again, with the whole 2022 business plan, congratulations on making it through 2021. But for the whole business plan, you got to be honest and write down as much information as possible. Any questions with it, don't hesitate to give Julie a call.
Of course, you call me anytime.
Or me.
In fact,
so I want to thank.
I had a few things on my phone, so I apologize. I may not have been paying attention the whole time. I was helping some other people with some questions. So
no problem at all.
Yeah.
So all right. Well, I look forward to helping everyone out with the business in 2022, and I look forward to being a successful year. We still have a few months, or a month and a half, month and a week left of this year here. So that's what we can do with the rest of this. Don't sell yourself short. And again, like I mentioned in the video, for our meeting, carve out time for your business. It's going to be one of the most important things to do in December. With everything, you're carving out time for family and holidays. I believe me, I love my family to death, and I do carve out time for them. I'm also making sure that I carve out time for my business, because I don't want to be chasing business in January and have nothing going on. Mm-hmm. So you guys take care, and
thank you, Rob.
See you next time.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.